This summer, France will be hoping to make it 3 World Cup finals in a row. And I tell you what, they've got a very good chance. Their squad is absolutely stacked. They are 9 games unbeaten, beating both Germany and Brazil in that time. The question is, how will they set up? So let's start off with the starting 11, where immediately the quality just jumps out at you. Starting off with Mike Maignan in goal, a very experienced international goalkeeper and a good player, although potentially a little bit error prone here and there, something to look out for. Then we've got the fullbacks, Theo Hernandez on the left hand side, one of the most dangerous left backs in world football, and on the right I think it will be either Jules Koundé or potentially Malo Gusto when they're looking for a little bit more attacking threat. But in the bigger games, I think it might be Koundé. At centre-back, you've got Saliba and Upamecano, a ridiculously physical, athletic, dominant centre-back pairing. 2 players that can go man-to-man against the best teams in the world and that can cover massive spaces. As we move into the midfield, the quality is obvious. Tchouaméni is one of the last true holding sixers in world football, and he's one of the best at it. A phenomenal defensive midfielder. And alongside him, I think it will be Rabiot, which might come as a little bit of a surprise, but it's just the midfield too that Didier Deschamps tends to stick with. Rabiot is an incredibly experienced footballer. He's always been reliable for Deschamps. He's played big games in big tournaments before. I think he will play here. There's a chance it's Zaire Emery against some of the smaller, easier teams for his technical ability, and it could even be N'Golo Kante as well. So potentially this is one position where France might be just a little bit weak, but they'll still be pretty strong. And then you've got the front 4, which speaks for itself. They dominate the biggest games every single year. Ousmane Dembele, Elise, Desiré Doué and Kylian Mbappé, 4 of the best forwards on the planet, all playing together in that front line. Then there's the likes of Barcola and Ryan Cherki that can come from the bench. France will be strong no matter what 11 they use. So that is the France 11, which doesn't contain too many surprises. But what might be a little bit more surprising is the way that they play. I think Didier Deschamps has been very successful at international level, but he sometimes gets criticised for being a little bit boring, a little bit dull, restricting his players a little bit, and sometimes being too passive defensively. Let's first of all address that first complaint, being dull, boring, and trapping his players. This year it will be a little bit different because of the way that France will set up. So France will likely build possession with 2 centre-backs as opposed to 3, and both Theo Hernandez and Koundé, or Malo Gusto, will both push on and provide the width in the first phase. In fact, you know what? Let's bring Gusto into the team because he probably suits it a little bit better. So these 2 will push on and play almost in line with Tchouaméni and Rabiot. So what we will see is these 4 players forming this line across the pitch. But where it gets really interesting is the players in front of them. Doué, Elise, Ousmane Dembele and Kylian Mbappé are all wonderful footballers in their own right, but they're all players that want to express themselves, that want to explore, that want to roam about the pitch. And you know what? Didier Deschamps actually lets them these days. That's why the fullbacks play so wide. The fullbacks play wide, and that allows these front 4 to do pretty much whatever they want. They roam about the pitch and will come really close together and look to sort of knit and combine their way through the opposition with pure, talented individual brilliance, which is present in abundance in the front line. So these French 4 will really be given the license to get close to each other, play near each other, and just make magical stuff happen. So when this France team clicks, they will be absolutely scintillating. Now, naturally, when we see teams relying on individuals like this, there'll be moments where it falls apart a little bit, where it stalls and it doesn't quite click and it becomes a little bit stodgy and doesn't work. But largely speaking, this will be a very entertaining France side with a slight bias towards the right-hand side, with Elise and Dembele really dominating the play over here, Doué coming inside as well, and look for a lot of third-man combinations, where Tchouaméni might pass to Desiré Doué and it will be Elise that's then arriving onto the ball to penetrate the opposition. Now, the other thing to look out for is France massively overloading one side of the pitch before then freeing someone on the far side. So it's an overload to an underload, or an overload to an isolation. So for example, what you might do is get Malo Gusto on the ball over here, Aurélien Tchouaméni a little bit deeper, ball goes inside, and French players come towards him. Elise comes towards, maybe Mbappé spins in behind, Dembele comes towards. What happens when France do this? The opposition react. So the left back follows Dembele, the midfielders try and squeeze, And what the opposition do is they get their defenders over to the ball side, which makes a lot of sense. That's how all teams defend. Defend where the ball is, where the space is. So France will try and draw teams over. But what they will then try and do is actually release the far side, particularly the fullbacks. Theo Hernandez and Malo Gusto both possess a lot of running power, so we'll be given that license to bomb forward on the far side. And it's as that player picks up the ball, so let's say Tchouameni picks it up in here, plays the big switch out, the opposition fullback will then go over to approach the ball. And that's when someone like Desiree Doué might get a little bit of freedom. So this is something to look out for from France. Them overloading one side of the pitch with lots of players close together and then switching to the far side and going 2 versus 2. And of course, that can work the other way around as well. So France might come down the left. They might get loads of players close together. Elise, Kylian Mbappe will drift over here, Desiree Doué. The whole team goes over, the opposition do the same, but then maybe they're looking for that switch from Rabiot out to the far side, where Gusto and Dembele can now go 2 versus 2. So this is how France will look to hurt teams. I just quickly want to interrupt to ask if you guys could please subscribe to the channel. This is going to be the place to be for this year's World Cup. We're going to cover as many games as we can from all the big sides, so if you could subscribe and get your notifications on, well, that would be a massive help. Now, something else that teams will have to be very aware of is the gravity of the French players. What does that mean? Well, for those of you that don't know, tactical gravity is a player attracting the pressure of multiple opposition players. So that's the gravity. They draw players towards them. The opposition defenders gravitate towards them, which creates space for someone else. So when you've got someone like Ousmane Dembele on the wing, Ballon d'Or winner just last year, picks the ball up, as a defender, you're a little bit worried. You don't really want to go and defend 1 versus 1 unless you're one of the very best players in the world. So what you might see is this defender calling for a little bit of backup. He asks his midfielder to come and help him as well. This is Dembele possessing gravity, drawing multiple players towards him. But something happens. When multiple players come towards Dembele like this, it means that space is going to open up somewhere else for someone else to arrive into. So Dembele drawing the attention of multiple defenders actually leaves room for another equally talented player like Elise. And the problem is, for every team at this World Cup facing France, that France have so many players like this. So Doué might pick the ball up on the left-hand side, and it requires 2 defenders to stop him, so there's space for someone else. Elise might pick the ball up, and it takes 2 to try and stop him, so space opens up. We've discussed it already for Dembele, and then you've got the small matter of Kylian Mbappe, who will start up front, but look to drift away from the front line, and grab and draw the attention of probably 35 players at once. This will be a problem. France will threaten in this way. The task for the French forwards is to make sure they're on the same wavelength. When one player comes towards the ball, they've got to get those runners going past. And that is just my one concern for the French forwards. There's a lot of players here that like to come towards the ball, that like lots of touches, that all want to be that little cute player, getting loads of touches and sort of stringing the attack together. Are there enough players that want to run beyond? We know that Mbappe can do it, but he does love the centre of attention. He loves to get some passes in. So this would be my one concern for the French forwards. If they click, they will be brutal. Now, the final thing that I want to discuss is the threat of the French transition, because there will be moments where they'll face good teams. Senegal and Norway are tricky. This is a really tricky French group, and should they progress through the tournament, they might face a Portugal, a Spain, and England, and there'll be moments where France don't have the ball. In these moments, there is a slight fear that Deschamps might be a little bit too passive at times. He might be a little bit too conservative and allow the opposition back into the game. And there's also some interesting players here. The likes of Dembele, Elise and Doué all work incredibly hard. But you do just look at Kylian Mbappe and think, is he going to cheat a little bit and hold higher? That's why I think Rabiot and Tchouameni will both play in midfield, to give them those extra legs, that extra work ethic, so someone like Mbappe can stay that much higher on the break. If France are successful in these moments, which is an if, they might be too passive, but if they do win the ball, yeah, I mean, again, they're going to be ridiculous, aren't they? Because as Tchouameni picks the ball up in the middle, he frees Elise. Elise picks the ball up, he dribbles, one of the best dribblers in the world. To his left, he's got one of the best dribblers in the world. To his right, he's got one of the best dribblers in the world. And up front, he's got Mbappe, one of the most dangerous players in the history of football. This French team, in transition against the big teams, against smaller teams as well, will absolutely blitz teams. So for France, their success is all dependent on clicking, the players clicking with each other. And the evidence suggests they probably will. Now, this is why I think most people will probably have France as their favourites. They've been there and done it. They've been to the last 2 finals. They've won the trophy. They've got a very good squad, lots of technical ability, plenty of hard workers, experience. It's just an all-round good team. Are there flaws? Yeah, there are flaws with every team, especially international ones, because there isn't as much time on the coaching pitch. So are there flaws with this France side? Yes, but they'll be confident, they will be strong, and they will have a good summer. I am sure of that. If you want to follow their summer, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because we will be covering their big games, especially Norway and Senegal in the groups, but also some of their big knockout matches as well. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. But apart from that, we are now finished for today. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.